Hi, AP Calc. Here we go, looking at week 9 problems, number 17, that was due last week on November 20th. And the first one says to find the slope of the graph at the point where x equals 1. Well, given that you have this right here, 1, 4, we have to evaluate, and because we know that the slope dy dx is equal to 3x squared plus 1 over 2y, and we're going to evaluate that at the point 1 comma 4. And if we do that, 3 times 1 squared plus 1 over 2 times 4, we're going to get 4 over 8, which is 1/2, and that was 1 point. Here, I want to be very clear. It says write the equation of the tangent line. It does not say to use Euler's method. Okay, so you've got to follow directions. All right, I know we just did Euler's method. It doesn't say to use it. It just says write the equation of the tangent line, and then we're going to use it to approximate f of 1.2. That's only basically using the tangent line once. We're not doing it multiple times. So write the equation of the tangent line at the point 1. So I have y minus 4 is equal to 1/2 times x minus 1. That's 1 point. Then it says to use it to approximate f of 1.2. So you can solve for y in that, and we can do 1/2 of 1.2 minus 1, right? And so we can solve for y. If we solve for y, we get 4.1, but when it says to approximate, some of you forgot to use f of 1.2 is approximately 4.1. If you used L of x, that's fine. You could have L of x is equal to 1/2 times x minus 1 plus 4. Then L of 1.2 is going to be equal to 4.1, not approximately. Remember, this linear approximation or linearization is just the equation of the tangent line. So please make sure that you have the equal sign, and then that linearization, we're still going to come down here and say, okay, well, that means that the function at 1.2 is approximately 4.1. So there's a difference. All of these are equal signs because that is a straight line. Okay, when we talk about the function is the approximation. Okay, f of x by solving, find f of x. So if I do this, I'm going to do separation of variables. 2y dy is equal to 3x squared plus 1 times dx. And I'll get y squared is equal to x cubed plus x plus c. And I'll solve for c using that initial condition that they gave me. So 4 squared is equal to 1 cubed plus 1 plus c. So 16 minus 2, I'm going to end up with that constant is 14. And so my original equation, okay, what I should have is that f of x is equal to plus or minus the square root of x cubed plus x plus 14. Okay, now what I have to do is I have to plug in 1, 4. Okay, so this should be 4 is equal to plus or minus 1 plus 1 plus 14. So this is going to be positive. So I know that f of x is going to be the positive of x cubed plus x plus 14. Okay, some of you did not do that. I didn't take a point off this time, but if you're solving for your original function, then please make sure if you have to take the square root, you're considering the positive and the negative. Okay, use your solution from part C to find f of 1.2. So f of 1.2 would have been just the square root of 1.2 cubed plus 1.2 plus 14. Okay, guys, this is a non-calculator. So those of you who went ahead and got the actual square root was approximately 4.114. I'm not quite sure how you got that, because I did the arithmetic and got that this was the square root of 16.928 and left it. Or I would have just left it here. Okay, so if it says no calculator, don't go to your calculator, or don't copy a problem that says the final answer, because I know what I've told you, and I don't want you to take the square root of 16.928. I'm sure you're not doing that in your head. Okay, so anyway, for future reference. Okay, next one is people who are in line at the amusement park, or sorry, they're entering the amusement park and then they're leaving the amusement park. Okay, for this particular problem, okay, for part A, it says how many people have entered the park by 5 p.m. Well, the entrance is this function here, so I'm just going to go from 9 to 17. Okay, so because it starts at 9, and I'm just going to find the number of people. So this is a rate. If I take the integral of a rate, I'm going to have how many people. And it says round to the nearest number of people. So this ended up being 6004.270. So approximately 6,004 people entered the park, okay, at 5 p.m. Okay, the price of the admission to the park is $15 until 5 p.m. After 5 p.m., the price of admission to the park is 11 p.m. or $11, sorry. How many dollars are collected from the admissions in the park on any given day? Round your answer. The way I did this was to do $15 times the amount of people that came in from 9 to 17 of E of t dt. Notice I can say E of t. I don't have to write out all that stuff. Okay, then the admission changes at 5 p.m. So then I'll go 11 times the integral from 17 to 23 of E of t dt. Okay, and I think they wanted you to round it, yep, to the nearest whole dollar. So if I did this, I ended up with 104.048.16. So the nearest dollar would have been this. Okay, now the other way that you could have done that was just, I know that some people took the 6,004 people, and you could have multiplied that, the 6,004 people, times your $15 plus your 11 times the number of people from 17 to 23 of E of t, and rounded the number of people there, and it would have been 104,041. So either way, they accepted. Okay, I didn't even take into consideration, I just went straight for what they gave me. Okay, now for part C, it says let h of t equal this function right here. Okay, the value of h of t is to the nearest whole number is 3725. Okay, and then it says find the value of h prime of 17 and explain the meaning of h of 17 and h prime in the context of the amusement park. Okay, this is where when it says this, find this value, and it use it in the context of the amusement park. Okay, we need to tell a story. Okay, so if you were very like, well, that's the amount of people in the park, okay, and that was the number of, and then h prime of t, or h prime of 17 represents the number of people in the park and how it was changing, or the change in the number of people in the park. Okay, use the values they're giving you. So tell a story with values that you calculated or they gave you. They gave you that number. So we're going to tell a story. First of all, before I tell that story, I'm going to say that h prime of t is equal to e of t minus L of t. Okay, because fundamental theorem of calculus, if I take the derivative of an integral, it's going to be what's inside the original functions. Okay, and I'm going to calculate h prime of 17 is e of 17 minus L of 17, and I end up getting negative 380.281. Okay, and I am people per hour. Okay, so I'm going to go and explain this in the context. Okay, so right away, 17, that's at 5 p.m. So I'm going to say, or I can even say at t equals 17, because this is only good for at t equals 17. There are 3,725 people in the amusement park. Right? And then you are going to say that the number of people was decreasing at a rate of 380 people per hour. Okay, at t equals 17. Done. That's it. I don't want to see h prime of 17 is this and h of 17 is this. Tell me what is going on. You're telling a story with the values, okay? So please take a note of this, because this will come up a ton. I want you to add or to explain within the context of the question. Okay, at what time t for between 9 and 23 does the model predict the number of people as a maximum? Okay, if you're going to find a maximum, you need to, it doesn't say to justify, you need justification. How do I know that this is a max? So we're going to set h prime of t is equal to 0, which means that e of t minus L of t is equal to 0. Okay, now I'll solve that, right? But they gave me a closed interval. If they gave me a closed interval and I have to find a maximum, I better have a table of values. I don't know why this is very difficult for people to understand. Okay, or remember, if you're looking for a maximum, they give you a closed interval. We're going to put a chart on that. We're going to go 9 and 23, and here we solve for t, and we get t is equal to 15.794. Okay, great, 15.794. That's where those all equal 0, or it's an endpoint. So if I plug in, this is my t values, if I go plug in, okay, h of t, if I plug in 9, right? So I'm taking the integral now. H of t is the integral from 9 to t of e of t minus L of t dt. Okay, if I go to 9, that means there's 0 people in the park. If I calculate this with 15.794, I have 3950.680. If I have 23, okay, if I plug in 23 for this, I end up with 1.014. So this max at, because it's asking for the time, t equals 15.794. Must have this. I have a closed interval and they're asking for a maximum. Okay? All right. Helpful hints. Have a great Thanksgiving.